especially from the political thing. So if you're talking to somebody that has a totally different lookout on life than you do, the last thing in the world you're going to say is throw out a bunch of facts. Facts don't work at all.
The millennial generation is as follows.
Welcome to
Surrounded by Idiots
Radio Podcast.
Spreading self-help with an attitude around the globe. This is the Surrounded by Idiots Radio Podcast. Hey, this is Tony Dufresne, PhD. Really glad to have you back in. I took a week off. If you're listening to this in real time, it's the first week of June. And it was Memorial Day weekend, and I was out of town. I was in Vegas and got back. That plus the fact that I'm still processing from the summit thing that I went to and all the changes that are going on in my own life, which I would like to share with you because I think that my own journey, even at this point, even in my 50s and already having had a successful career, and I've got 2 gigs going and businesses and all that crap, but to anytime, I don't rest at all. I like to always continue to expand, which is what I preach to everybody, is to continue to expand and continue to learn things and have that beginner's mind. You know, that Zen Buddhism term about always being eager and always wanting to learn. Because I tell you right now, you're in your 20s and 30s and you're thinking, I'll get to my 40s or 45 or whatever, and I'll be cool and I'll just glide. Well, I'm assuming that if that's the case, you're probably not listening to this because the people that are listening to this are not those type of people. I'm it takes a while to get my wheels turning, and a lot of times it takes a lot longer. I mean, it took me 10 years to finish my PhD because I was raising my daughter at the time, and I just kept moving. It's more of the tortoise and the hare thing, and I'm big time the tortoise, and I just didn't stop. It took a while, and there were times when it does take a while. There are times when you start to consider the fact, or you think about, oh shit, this is taking me way too long. Maybe it's not worth it. And there's a lot of doubt that comes into your mind because the more space you give yourself, the more doubt that's going to come up. But I'm telling you right now, you set your mind to something, just don't have the option of not finishing. It's really as easy as that. And that's not even exactly what I wanted to talk about today, but that the thought process led me to that right now. So what I want to roll into is my journey up to this point over the last couple weeks. Since the summit that I went to a publicity summit back in New York, and I met with 50 different people that were producers and freelance writers and radio hosts from NBC, ABC, Today Show and The View and Live with Regis and Kelly, or Regis is gone, whatever the show is. And since then, it's kind of rattled my cage talking to those people, seeing what they're looking for, understanding what I have to offer, and the direction that I want to take my business of transformational coach, of the Surrounded by Idiots stuff, and my message, my coaching program, and also my plans on creating an online university, an online coaching course situation. Because that's the ultimate plan. The ultimate plan is to create my site where I have a number of courses and I offer, and doing a weekly webinar, live weekly webinar Q&A, so we can all create a community. Because that's really the only reason I'm doing this is to create a community so we can all help each other. Because if it's just me doing something, then it's just me, and it's a very, if you know about arithmetic versus exponential. You don't have to. I mean, I can affect one person here, one person there. Even if I'm online, I only have a certain amount of people that I can get my message out to. However, if we all come together and then we share things and I'm able to teach you things, and in the process of me teaching you things, you teach me a great deal. If you talk to any teacher, they always seem like they learn more, they will tell you, than the student at the time. And every coaching experience that I've ever had, being a coach or a counselor, I've learned a lot about myself, about people, communication, and all that. So all that kind of wrapped up into it. I wanted to take us back into my current situation and tell you a little story about what's been happening now since the summit, which was about 3 weeks ago, I guess. I came back and I decided this, and after going through all that and the old media and stuff, I decided that my focus should be specifically on the online and creating the online courses and developing my tribe from the ground up that way. It would be great to be able to pitch all these people and to go on all these shows and to get out there and brand myself that way in terms of network stuff and have that. But you know what? For what I want to do, the only reason that I would do that, I'm continuing to remain in contact or contacting these people through email. They all gave me the email, and I had a very nice time, and it was a very well run situation with the summit. But being in that situation, I understood that that's not my gig and that's not my audience. Most of it is not, although I know a lot of people watch the Today Show. But my focus should be on creating and offering the programs. And I want to use that, to be totally honest, going on those shows, getting a chance to go on, because I'm going to be on like 4 radio programs, and I'll let you know when they come up. At this point, I'm trying to get on the network stuff. Let's say if I get on the Today Show, I want to use that as social proof. Go on there, have a nice time, because they all want, sticky pitches stuff. They want like little 5-minute segments on fun little stuff, which is cool. Make it a morning shake and making it a metaphor for life or something like that. And they like that, but I can use that for social proof. And I think that could apply to you too in regards to understanding, because I talk about branding all the time. And I'm thinking, if you're here and if you're listening to this, you want to continuously improve. You want to continuously expand. You want to get out of your old system that's kept you locked into where you are now or where you have been, and you want to break out and take a little risk and get a little uncomfortable and expand yourself and to make your life a little bit better than what it was yesterday. You know the old rule. The old rule is look at every single day you wake up, 1%. Every single day you wake up, it's 1% better. That's all you're looking for. 1% better in your life. Now you'll have ebbs and flows, and some days will be total crap. Have a terrible day, and the kids will be running around, or maybe the roommate ate your half burrito that you were saving and really looking forward to by the time you get home, and that's like the worst possible tragedy ever for me. Even that being the case, it's 1% overall. You learn something every day. You become a positive impact in somebody's life every single day. That's the key. Focusing on the 1% every single day. I wanted to transition from that into where that led. And what that led to was meeting somebody there. Her name is Jennifer, and she is a speech coach and a storytelling coach. And initially when I met, very nice lady, and I met her and we hit it off because we have the same sensibility and sense of humor. So it was fun when chatting back and forth. Come to find out she was a coach, and I thought, you know what? I've never had a coach before in that type of coach, because when I was going through this process, I've had radio experience. I was in radio in LA back in the mid to late 80s. I worked at a radio station in LA, and then I did voiceover work. And so I had professional voiceover training, and I did commercials and industrial, those industrial movies that you watch when you train. I did stuff like that in terms of voiceover. And so I had that training, thinking that training was going to transition into speeches and presenting my material and it being okay. Well, come to find out, as I've gone through this process, I've realized through reading, because I'm constantly reading other people's stuff. I'm constantly researching. I'm constantly figuring out what works and what doesn't work. It's all about having your own little lab and just trying different shit all the time. And so in doing so, there are things when you read 10 books, typically there's like one, I call it the vein that goes through all of them. There's one or two things that usually come out in every single book. And the one thing that I found that jumps out at me right off the top of my head in the books and in listening to TED Talks and speaking and whatnot, in regards to effective communication and effective sales, effective getting your message across, is storytelling. It's because people are so much more tuned in to stories than they are to lectures, to somebody telling them what to do. And that's a big thing with me, because throughout my whole process, it's been academic. It's been learned. It's been through, doing papers and sitting at lectures and, dissertation stuff. And it's all been that whole give and take in regards to from an educational type of thing, instead of sitting there and weaving a story about my childhood or something that I had happen to me last week, and how that is a metaphor for growing through process or something like that. That's just not the way my brain was wired. So this is a huge shift for me, and I realized this the most when I went to the summit and talked to people and had these professionals who do this for a living and make a ton of money and have a huge impact on what you watch and what you hear and what you read. It was all about storytelling, all about it. And that's when I talked to Jennifer. She was there, and I said, I've got to hire you. I've got to have you to help me as a consultant. So she was very nice and said, absolutely. And so I'm in process. I've been working with her on the storytelling stuff. The first thing she said was, actually, you do tell stories. I think a lot of us maybe don't think that we have some level of that, and we do, but it's a matter of honing it, making it better. But my focus here is to let you know, or kind of throw to you, the big lesson that I learned is, and this goes for relationships, it goes for being at your job, it goes for selling something, it goes for any aspect of life in terms of when you have to communicate something to somebody effectively. Do it, figure out a way to do it in a story, and find a way. There are templates, there are ways to do it, there are ways to weave stories. Find a way, because it's so much more effective than just telling somebody what to do, especially nowadays in the circumstance where we're so divisive, we're so split between two parties, especially from the political thing. So if you're talking to somebody that has a totally different lookout on life than you do, the last thing in the world you're going to say is throw out a bunch of facts. Facts don't work at all. And you can tell. I mean, just look at the news and look at because people just refute facts, and they'll bring up their own facts and they'll create something new. Facts not effective at all in terms of communication, sadly, because it really should be. Logically, that should be the case, but it's not. The case is to weave something indirectly, to weave your message into a story that's going to let them know what your perspective is. That way, you're not attacking them and their perspective, even though you totally don't agree with it. It's not about attacking them and saying you're right and they're wrong. It's just about, this is what I think, this is my experience, and this is why I think this way. So you own it. You own your particular perspective. And I think that's really important, especially nowadays, because nowadays everything is so split, and it's so tense in regards to the attitudes that are around. I have my own opinions about the reasons why, and it really doesn't have to be this way. But some people think that they need to atomic bomb the whole thing in order to start over, and I think that's a horrifically horrible idea. In fact, I have that in the book. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It's all about the storytelling, and if you want some tips on that, I would suggest going to javabud.com. Go to Tony at javabud.com. Drop me a line and let's chat about that. I'm always up to chatting about the stuff that I have talked about, and also if you want some links, or if you want me to steer you in a particular direction, then you can let me know. I'm going to have Jennifer on the show, and she's going to talk about effective storytelling, and that's going to be probably in like 2 or 3 weeks, as soon as we can get our schedules set up. I also have, just to give you an update, a good friend of mine, Alexander. He's my financial guy, my financial advisor, and I had a meeting with him today, and we were talking about financing for 20s and 30s, just starting out, and the bare minimum that you should do before moving forward. And of course, my concern was, because I work with you guys all the time, is they're going to come in and it's money's tight. Especially with the loan stuff and the way the costs are, and the fact that you're not making a lot of money when you look at it in relation to like past generations. And he has a very interesting way of doing it to where it doesn't put you in a bad place. In fact, his whole approach is putting you on a solid foundation to where you're not stressing about stuff. Because the worst thing you can possibly do is overextend yourself and by putting a lot of money into a Roth or paying a ton down on your student loan, which you may think would be reasonable, but it's really not in some circumstances. So he's going to come on, and he's got a great way, and it's a lot different than what people are saying in terms of doing all that stuff. So he's going to be on too. And if you have any questions or concerns, or drop me a line, or again, I love the feedback that I get, and I always weave that in. In fact, a few of the things I'm going to talk about later is because of the direct feedback and some conversations that I've had with you guys. And I really appreciate that from all over the world, too. I'm not kidding when I say around the globe, because we've been listened to in like 130 or so different countries based upon the SoundCloud data. And I thank you for that. And if you are from out of town, again, drop me a line. It'd be cool to hear from somebody in Bangladesh or something, because I actually have listeners there. I got a lot of listeners in South Korea. So if you guys are listening as well right now, so then hello. Again, you can watch the video. The video is going to be on javabud.com, or you can go to YouTube, and the YouTube channel is The Java Bud. Looks like it's all one word the way that they have it in there. And that's been blowing up a little bit. The YouTube videos are kind of hitting a little bit better, which is great. I'm all for people getting more learned and us coming together and us all doing good, because that's really what it comes down to. So I hope you're well. I'm good. I will talk to you next week. Bye.